Well, this video, obviously the title's a bit clickbaity. Yeah, these are fragrances, I suppose it's self-explanatory, that I've kind of loved. Not loved first, because I'm not the only person in the world, but that I may have like encouraged others to go out and buy or try, and they've fallen in love with them. Which, you know, doesn't happen often. It's mainly amongst my friends. I'm sure I haven't, you know, influenced many random people to fall in love with certain things and that. I just thought, it's a video, innit? Whether it's interesting or not is a completely other thing. So yeah, we'll get started with it. So first on the list, and I imagine there'll be maybe a few from me and Lizzie. We do influence each other quite a lot, and this was one. Well, I mean, I was influenced. I watched Raoul. What's he called on YouTube? I'll pop it up. I'm sure it's probably, is it Eternal Sense? I'll pop it up. I won't embarrass myself. And he did a live with the creator of the perfume. That's Fusciuni's Viole Nere. I don't know if I mentioned that. And I was just bewitched with it, the description and stuff. He was obviously, when I've listened to him on Raoul's lives before and stuff, such a genuine guy, such a poetic person. And I do need, I say this every year, I will get a discovery set this year. They just happen to not be in stock very often. That's why I haven't ended up with one, and they are pricey, but they'll be worth it just to try his other work. But Viole Nere, being a kind of violet addict, as we all know, I have many violet fragrances. I just thought I really need to try this. The dog is still in the field. Ah, there he is. So we sorted that out. Yeah, it's a violet fragrance, but it's different to all the ones I've got. It's based around the idea of the first flowerings of spring, still kind of wintry, but starting to push through and develop. And that's a really special time of year, isn't it? Really, you're kind of exhausted and worn out. Anyway, I'm waffling an awful lot in this one. It's basically, it starts with this kind of dry, cold orris, and slowly the violet flowers start to push through, so you get this little sprinkle of sweetness, and there's some greenness there as well. Maybe there's oak moss, something like that. You get a nice greener touch, and there's some yellow florals, I think, in there as well. So you get this kind of sweetness of coming through, and then it does actually have quite a boozy feel about it, which is a surprise, but it adds a richness and a warmth. And then it becomes like a spring, very early spring scented kind of fragrance, because you still get the touches of the cool, crisp, dry, cold orris in there, and the earthiness. And obviously the patchouli warms it up as well. It's a magnificent fragrance. And obviously, me talking about it to Lizzie and obviously sending her a little sample of it, yeah, I influenced at least one other person with that. So there we are. That's Viole Nere from Fusciuni. Next is Rolling in Love. Who I've picked to say I influenced with this one is Smurfy Girly Claire. Now this, it'd been about a while and stuff, but we know me. I never stop raving about it or talking about it, like literally ever. It's just one of the most incredible fragrances ever made. And I did a video featuring many people with it in, and I think it's one that in the end it gets you. It's not one that you're gonna go, well, you might go wow, but if you're used to a bigger fragrance, a fragrance that makes a huge statement, then this one you may miss completely, or it may take its time with you. It's just ultimately musks, a little bit of tuberose in there, the almondy, soft almondy kind of milky skin feel, and then it's just musks, ambre and musks, and it's just heavenly. Yeah, I've spoken about this one so much, but yeah, Claire liked it. I don't know if Claire ever got a bottle of it, but I know that, you know, I'd certainly encourage her to try it more than once and send her more of it, because I think it gets to you. I'm sure I might have influenced other people with this one, but yeah, I don't need to waffle on. We know what Rolling in Love is, and it's one that wasn't necessarily particularly raved about or talked about much, because again, in the modern age, people want in your face kind of things, don't they? Rolling in Love from Kilian anyway. Next is, well, it's obviously going to be an Amouage, but which one and whom? Opus 3 from Amouage. Claire came up once, and you know, we went out for a few drinks and all of that jazz. But I decided to wear Opus 3, which I had madly fallen in love with. Again, the violet kind of thing. I blind bought this. I had heard, nobody talks about the old ones anymore, do they really? So I'd heard nothing about it, and I saw it on eBay. No, I didn't. I didn't see it on eBay. I'm lying. I saw it on one of the discounter sites or whatever, and they had massive discounts on some of the Opus ones. But it would have been when they were just clearing old stock, wouldn't it? And there was a couple there, and then I saw this. I think, oh, it was something silly like 150, 180 pounds. It wasn't wildly expensive when you consider how much they were. And I thought, I'll have a look on Fragrantica as we do, see what they're about, what's in them, and this one just struck me. It's got violet in it. So yeah, that long story short, obviously I went for the violet one, and as I sprayed it, and just blown away. It's not just the violet, that's a big part of it, but again, there's a slight booziness about this one as well. And the mimosa adds a different kind of facet and texture to it. It's quite bright, and then it becomes quite a papery one. But the magic of this one, apart from, you know, your usual Amouage resins kind of thing, is the musks. The musks are next level. I think it is ambrette in it, but it just adds this beautiful sensuality to it. And obviously, yeah, it's risky sometimes. I may have sprayed it on Claire, I don't remember, but or sent her a sample as well. But when it's on us and someone smells it on us, that's always a risky kind of, because it obviously wears differently on everyone, doesn't it? But it impressed Claire enough for her to find herself a nice little partial bottle. It's a fantastic one. So that's Opus 3 from Amouage. Next is M Hearts Notes something or other on Instagram, and this is I don't think she's bought it yet. This is Amouage Portrayal, another Amouage. Now what I'd done is I'd sent Portrayal and Imitation, but I think I'd labelled them wrong, so she never knew which one it was that she massively loved. Now she did really like them both, but she wanted a bottle of one. I'm going to scratch that. It's Imitation that she loved the most, although she does love Portrayal. But eventually I sent her two more correctly sampled fragrances, and again she's just madly in love with it. It's not cheap to get, so it's one that she's going to have to keep her eyes open for, I think. But Imitation is this unbelievably realistic, beautiful blackcurrant. That's the main vein of it. Starts off to some, not necessarily to me, apparently a bit pissy. I don't really get that. I really like it. And then the blackcurrant kind of grows more purpley and blackcurranty. And also in there is a little dab of licorice, which adds a kind of darkness in there. But what really makes this fragrance for me, with some of my favourite notes there, is the greenness. It's a beautiful, fresh green feel. Whether it's like the cassis leaf, or there's lots of other stuff going on in there. And then it's got the warm resinous base, the gorgeous muskiness. It's just a magnificent fragrance. I absolutely love it. So that's Imitation from Amouage. Next is another Kilian. And if anyone remembers Sam Smells, who was absolutely fantastic, she made really kind of long, in-depth fragrance videos, had some wonderful posts on the older Instagram and stuff. I do miss Sam. She was great, and we had quite similar taste and quite a similar humour and stuff. But anyway, one I'd sent to her was a discontinued Kilian, which is just a beautiful one. It's Sweet Redemption. Now, Sweet Redemption was, yeah, like I say, sadly discontinued, but it's kind of very similar to where am I going? It's kind of very similar to Love Don't Be Shy, but this is grown up. It's darker, it's more kind of gothic, it's more kind of badass. The similarities, I suppose, I don't even know if there is orange blossom in it. There must be. Is the orange blossom, but instead of kind of vanilla and marshmallow in it, it's kind of got these darker resins in the base, and don't think there's leather in it, but there is a kind of that dark, smooth kind of feeling about it. And there's almost a smokiness running through it, so it does add this kind of beautiful, dark, rich feel to it. If you like Love Don't Be Shy, but you think it's a bit too playful or whatever, this will be one you wouldn't be able to try. It's gone, isn't it? And if they bring it back, it won't be the same. I absolutely guarantee. The reformulations they've done have been garbage anyway. It's just a more grown-up, gothy, dark, badass version of Love Don't Be Shy. Not exactly the same, but it follows that kind of theme. It's beautiful. So that's my god, there's still ice here, rock hard ice as well. That's Sweet Redemption from Kilian. So next, I have to remember to tag all these properly, is somebody off Instagram, Russell Arker, I believe it is, on the old Instagram, and one that I influenced him to buy. I sent him, we swapped some samples as you always do, and sent him some Kajals which he was very curious about, and he ended up buying Kajal 3. Now Kajal 3 to me is like orange Fanta with some nice patchouli and a kind of, it's ambroxan, but it's kind of the fizziness of the ambroxan. It's not a metally, it's not a metally headachy one. It's really fresh and really vibrant. I personally don't have any other fragrances like it. It's very pleasant and very, very easy wear, and I can see why Russell really liked this one. So yeah, like I say, we've got to keep these brief, haven't we? But I believe he enjoyed some more of the Kajals from them as well. They're actually a fairly good brand, and they have a lot of sweet ones, but the ones they do that aren't the kind of sweet ones, which are nice, are always quite nice and different and something enjoyable. So yeah, that's Kajal 3 from Kajal for Russell. Next is Alfrun off YouTube, one of my subscribers, and they ended up sampling Amouage's Imitation. Not yet to get a bottle, but may do. And yeah, Amouage is one of them, you sample it first. Under any circumstance, you do not blind buy Amouage. And Imitation, which ironically I blind bought, naughty John, is a kind of, it's blackcurrant, it's licorice. So yeah, I've already spoken about this one, but it's two, if you like, 2 checks for Imitation. It's a very fine fragrance, and yeah, it's nice to know I've influenced another person to absolutely love it. Next is a really lovely person. That's perfume Haiku on here and Instagram, and what I'd influenced them with is Maison Violet's now sadly discontinued Pourpre d'automne. Now this one, as we know, it's not supposed to be this frosty and cold, to be honest, but it is. It's this kind of, as you move into autumn, obviously now we're after autumn, but this kind of the death coming, the coldness, everything withering away like this. You've got like a mauve sky like this. The orris kind of feeling in it is quite dry, and the rose and the violet add a kind of melancholic powderiness to it, and you can smell the violet. It's quite prominent, as well as this little touch of, I always say this, I'm sure this has got mimosa or something like it in it, this little hint of sweet light in there, and it's very musky. It's just a very beautiful, melancholic, chilled, peaceful purple fragrance. It's magnificent, and that's why it's one of my favourites. Suits my mood a lot, so yeah. Thanks, Danielle. I'm glad you enjoy it. It's always very scary, isn't it? That's Pourpre Autumn from Maison Viole. Now another one is another YouTuber, Consmons. Apparently I kind of encouraged to go out and give Joop Homme a good smell, and they've got it. Now Joop Homme, I'm really glad somebody gave this a chance, because all you hear about Joop Homme is absolute gibberish and nonsense, because you know how it is. It's the sheeple thing. Oh, someone slagged off this kind of fragrance and we don't get PR from that brand, so we'll all jump onto that bandwagon. You can't see that grouse in front of me, and it just gets loads of hate. It was really, really popular, and is really, really popular, and has been for the last 30 odd years. It's a magnificent fragrance. It's kind of this little bit of cherry cough syrup, famously, cinnamon, jasmine. Sometimes you get a little bit of a naughty touch in there. These beautiful musks. It's just huge as a fragrance. Nowadays it's tamed down, but I think that in a way is a good thing. I think it makes it more wearable. But it certainly is the fragrance of the 90s, if you like. Yeah, it came out in 89, but the 90s was when it got its thing. And obviously it was my first fragrance. And I still wear it. I've got so many great memories attached to it. But there isn't anything like Joop Homme. Yes, okay, Creed cloned the beginning of one of their fragrances with it, as did Mont Blanc, with that little bit of that kind of raspberry, cherry kind of touch at the beginning there. But this is a legend, and it will always be a legend, because it's still one of the, if not the best-selling men's fragrance in the UK. This is up there with Sauvage and all these newbies and what have you. And it's another one that's for all ages. I smelt some chav on a bus who was probably about my nephew's age wearing it, and he smelled blooming amazing, absolutely amazing. So yeah, I've influenced someone with Joop Homme. I'm sure it's more than one person, but yeah, Joop Homme. Next is Lunar Angst on both platforms, and that's our Sarah. And what I've influenced her with is Angel Share. I think I sent her a little sample along with some others. An Angel Share, I can see why people who haven't yet smelt it might be a bit kind of about it, because it's hyped to high hell, isn't it? It's still hyped to high hell, and they're rinsing it with their flankers, because of course they are Estee Lauder. I haven't tried the new version yet. I will give it a sniff, but I'm not going to lie, I don't really have high hopes. But yeah, Angel shares this kind of boozy brandy, woods, some beautiful sweet light spices in there. Cinnamon's listed. It's not a cinnamon bomb. It just smells magnificent. It's the benzoin in it. There's tonka anyway, and there's the rich warmth in the base. Some people get a little bit of a chocolatey touch. I don't really. But it's warm, it's enveloping, and it's got that right mix of the spices and the booze that kind of take you to cosy warm times. So that's Angel Share. Me and Sarah don't really share that much similar taste in fragrance, but we still get on, just very different tastes, innit? And she loved Angel Share from Kilian. The next couple are actually brands, and one person I influenced apparently to try April Aromatics, which is it's kind of a naturals fragrance brand. They're so beautiful. We all know this, they're one of my favourite brands ever. I'll get onto them in a minute. Is Low Key High Flyer off Instagram, which is Helen. I think I'm spot on there. And I'm glad she's had a chance to sample them and enjoy them. They are, like I say, the natural scenes. It's like places and things that Tanya's been to and smelled before. And she has this magical ability to be able to actually transport you to these places. They smell like that spot. They're very vivid. I mean, I'm gonna have to pick a fragrance, aren't I? I don't know what Helen sniffed from them, but let's say Purple Rain, because we're coming up to that period in the year where spring will come. It's put all these purple flowers, but it's also got this greenness in there, this freshness, this vibrance, this living scene of these flowers growing, and you're walking through the grass and you can smell them in the air. It's just a really kind of perfectly put together purple one. So yeah, for April Aromatics, that was Low Key High Flyers, Helen. Next is Tanya's Sweet Cat, or Sweet Cat something or other. Again, the names are on the screen, aren't they? So on Instagram and YouTube. And what I encouraged apparently and influenced her to sniff, again another brand house, is One Way Bridge, which I'm quite surprised. She, being in Australia, I know it's a long way from New Zealand in reality, just because it looks close on a map, it ain't. But yeah, One Way Bridge perfumes, and she's fallen in love with many like me. I know two she loves, Date with a Dame and Pitching Woo, which I've spoken about more recently. We'll go Date with a Dame. Date with a Dame is this beautiful musky masterpiece. It's just this, it's the smell of a kind of a beautiful woman or a beautiful man with a little bit of a bad boy, bad girl edge. This kind of touch of naughtiness. It's this tuberose with all these musks and this life, this vibrance about it. And sometimes it smells a little bit cherry-like to me, and it's just magnificent. The tuberose is floral, but it leans on that sweeter side of it, and there's a touch of anise in there again, which gives it this kind of warmth and this pleasant sweetness about it as well. It's absolutely magnificent. So yeah, for the whole of One Way Bridge is a Sweet Cat, and yeah, I'm glad I influenced someone to try them, because like we know, they are one of my favourite brands, and sadly just not out there enough at the moment. So yeah. Next is Liquid Joy over on Instagram. What I've encouraged her to sniff, apparently, again, it's another house, and I'll presume maybe perhaps she's gone for the big ones as she started to get into like Missia and things like that. I'll talk about Missia when we get on, but I understand that actually with Chanel. Liquid Joy, I can't remember, damn it, Melunia, is probably a decade younger than me, I'd say, at least. And back, I think, a decade ago with me, or when I was young, yes, I wore Chanel Allure Homme, but that's because I smelt it on my lecture and I loved it. And back then it was magnificent. Not now, it's terrible now. But yeah, Chanel, we kind of see it as something for middle-aged people, perhaps, when we're young. Even Bleu de Chanel now, I doubt young people wear that nonsense, that overpriced generic shower gel. Just go for Sauvage, wouldn't they? I know Bleu de Chanel was first, but just go for, you know, at least Sauvage is fairly interesting comparatively. And Chanel Allure Homme Sport, they're all kind of boring. I think maybe especially for us men, unless you go back to the classic ones, like Egoist and things like that, which again, you're probably, when you're young, a bit scared of these more kind of classic leaning ones. But even with the women's, like Coco Mademoiselle was always people who were a bit older than us. Even in my uni days, it would be kind of people in their last year, or people who started work, you know, mid to late 20s. Coco, I think, reminds us all of our kind of outgoing auntie that we all loved, and they just have that association with the older people, so it doesn't hit you till later in life that Chanel's are actually really good. They're not groundbreaking, they're not out of this world, but they have this little je ne sais quoi, because they're French, about them that you just slowly fall in love with, and you think they're very easy to wear, they're always very classy. Chanel don't keep up with the trends, apart from with the men's male marketed fragrances, which I've never understood why they keep up with the trends with that. It's like they can't be bothered with it, isn't it, really? They could have a really big brand, but yeah, the female marketed ones, they're so very Chanel, aren't they? And so very unique to them, and you can smell that Chanel DNA. I don't need to talk about them this year because I've waffled on so much. And even the expensive line, which somehow is unisex marketed. Why don't you just stop gendering fragrances, especially you, Chanel? Come on. So yeah, I can see why maybe talking about them in not an old-fashioned way, you know. I'm not the stereotype people probably have in their mind. I'm not wearing a purple cardigan and a hairnet with my blue rinsed perm and stuff. I am a youthful person. And of course, the other thing is, maybe perhaps for not maroon you, is I'm a man, and I'm not talking about bleu de crap. I'm not. These fragrances are of course for everyone, especially Chanel's. There's nothing particularly stereotypical about them. I have waffled on so long about this. I've even done a video about Chanel, but yeah, embrace Chanel. You won't love it at first, you won't get it, but somehow, like I say, it gets a stranglehold of us all, and we all start to go a bit Chanel crazy as we get older. Next is another Instagrammer, Claudio, Fragrance Genie, and what I've kind of influenced him with is one from BedeauX called Hibou, and this one I've spoken about an awful lot. It's this dark, rich, ambery orange. If you imagine like an orange, the sweets, but it's like this even more ambery coloured, and it has the warmth of amber and stuff, but still with this dark orange flavour. That's kind of the best way to describe it, I think. But it's got rosewood in it, so it's got this rich, warm depth from that, which is lovely. And I get a bit of an anisey feel, but again, whether that's there or not, and some gorgeous spices that just warm it up. So it's almost like a Christmas ambery cake or something, or like, you know, like an orange cake, which is, they tend not to taste very fresh or tart because of all the brown sugar and the cake and stuff in it. It is not remotely cakey, but it's got that warmth and that richness and that depth. It's such a gorgeous fragrance. And again, BedeauX are a very underrated house from Amanda. There are some gorgeous ones in there, and some new ones I need to try at some point. But yeah, so Fragrance Genie over on the old Instagram had influenced him with BedeauX's Hibou. And finally, over on YouTube and Instagram, is one of my favourite people who I've known for many years now. He's a really, really lovely guy. Actually, this is not the Amphine one, there's one more. But it's this. He has such a love of fragrances. I mean, he's really passionate, and he watches people and he comments and he gets really into it, and he's a lovely, lovely man. One of the loveliest people I've ever kind of known through this. And with Jim, I could say I've influenced him with a good few many, because Jim will go out and buy these things if he likes the sound of them, well, sample them at least. And one of them that I know that I may have influenced him as well as Dr. Claire is from Mabelle or Rama, and that's Forbidden Bloom. and he also recently tried the newer one from them, but he prefers Forbidden Bloom. Forbidden Bloom is this rich, beautiful, tropical, fruity, tropical floral, kind of a bit naughty, with that kind of naughty dark muskiness about it. It's got, I always get these flowers, I'm going to go for frangipani maybe, gardenia possibly, but it's this dark rich pear and peach that go through it, but they're not, you know, not sweet or bitter or particularly crisp. They are more that kind of stewed, kind of rich, warm, sexy kind of feel about them, and that mixes with this kind of gorgeous muskiness that she's put all around it, and it is like a tropical night, getting a bit naughty on the beach and that kind of thing. It's magnificent. So that's Forbidden Bloom from Mabelle or Rama for our gym. So finally, this is the last section. It's kind of an added on one because I got a bigger response than I imagined. So I'm going to compress all these people who kindly commented into one section. There's only one that's something specific, which is thankful, but it's one I've already mentioned. So yeah, this is all going to be weirdly compressed. First up is Aromatics off Instagram. That's Tasha. We do not have the same taste in perfume, and it's very kind of rare we cross over. I'll have to send her some samples as well, but one brand she wants to try, hasn't yet, because I never shut up about them, is Amouage. Yeah, that's fair enough, that makes sense. I do talk about them quite a bit, and I'm sure there's actually some gentler ones that she'd actually enjoy in there. Next is Joe Black Tea off the old YouTube, and he tried April Aromatics. Well, they tried April Aromatics thanks to me mentioning it apparently, and I hope they enjoyed them. But yeah, again, April Aromatics, it's just a brand I love, and if you do love that more kind of natural feeling, the more kind of fresh, kind of obviously more delicate, realistic kind of perfumes, then April Aromatics are definitely a house to check out and give a good sniff. The reason I'm struggling to speak is because you can't see it, but you can see the ice over there. It is about -2. I need to put some gloves on really, but yeah, anyway, that's me waffling. Thanks to that person as well for watching my channel, and again, I'm so glad it's another indie brand. Next is Catherine Bribois Catwoods. Catherine, again off YouTube, and what she's tried because of me is Rolling in Love. I'd probably think it's more likely that super collaboration, isn't it really? Yeah, I do love that fragrance, and like I mentioned it before, it's truly something special, and when you get it, you get it, and that the muskiness in it is just absolutely impossible to kind of resist. It's just magnificent. It is love, sensuality and what have you in a bottle. Also, thank you, Catherine. As we keep saying this now towards the end of the video, thank you to everyone really. So yeah, next is I'll just do it really quickly, is I think her name's Karina, someone who's supported me for a long time again, like most people, and although there's nothing specific, she's going to say I've kind of sort of you know, not pushed but influenced her to maybe try more indie stuff, but you know, kind of take that step and sniff them out. She's been sniffing lots of indie stuff and falling in love with some, so yeah, I mean that again is good. That kind of builds with the theme of the video and what I do, so that means a lot. And obviously people watch, I mean this is going off on one, but people watching my videos, especially when there's a lot of stuff nobody's might have heard of, or not a lot of it, not too much mainstream stuff, I really appreciate that, because they're watching out of interest to learn, whereas understandably most people, we watch stuff that we know what's there and what it's about and stuff, so I appreciate that. And finally is Midwest Betty, although again she hasn't tried it yet. One of the ones that I've fairly influenced her with is Joop's Le Bon. Or also, just whilst I'm mentioning that, what about you weirdos who pronounce Joop in an over weird way and say it's Joop? What does that make that? Joop Le Bon? Is that the German pronunciation of that? This is German and French together, so go on, tell me how you pronounce that. It's Joop Le Bon. Anyway, this is it's a primarily kind of, you know, that like being in a bath. It's lovely, it's aldehydic, it's alive, it's resinous, it's got warm soft florals, a touch of spice and everything. It's a classic. It is of its era, obviously, but somehow it stays. So yeah, thanks Betty, and I hope you do like it if you get it. It's easy, it's impossible to dislike, I think. And now that is all. Again, thanks to everyone who kind of joined in and took part. I wouldn't consider myself an influencer, but maybe I've, you know, shown people things that they might like. Yeah, anyway. So I'll just finish this off now. This video was a bit jumping all over. I didn't really know how to present it. So I'm not an influencer. But sometimes, merely by talking about things, people can get interested in them and stuff. And I hope, you know, my very tiny audience, who I love, obviously I love all these people. These are people I've spoke to generally and stuff. That indie is the thing that they kind of associate with me. And talking about fragrances that aren't just, you know, any old nonsense because nobody's talking about them. I'll talk about these things so much because they're so good. They're so beautiful, which is why I find it so easy to talk about them with so much passion and love. Whereas, you know, I'm not just reading. Actually, it does work. I was going to say listing the notes and not mentioning that you got it for free does work, because these big influencers have fans, don't they? People who watch the videos for them rather than any sort of content and stuff. I do that too. That's no criticism. We're all fans of someone, aren't we? And we'll watch stuff that we don't really get a lot from just because that person's making it. That is human nature. But I'm hoping, I don't know what the point of the video was, just that sometimes maybe I'm not just talking complete nonsense for 20 minutes or however long this video is. And I wanted to do a video where I brought the people who support me into it, and not just, you know, the people with channels and stuff, although these all obviously they all exist on social media, or they wouldn't be able to watch me, would they? But like people who don't necessarily promote content or talk about things, they just enjoy the whole thing. And they don't just enjoy me, they enjoy all of us and that. And yeah, so this has just been so waffly. What am I even talking about? What about you? Have you been influenced by anything I've mentioned before? Or is there someone you watch who's really got you to try a lot that you've ended up loving and stuff? We all have people who have similar tastes to us. Right folks, thanks, bye.